Hello, welcome to episode 6 of the weekly workshop vlog. Today we're going to have a look at some more wood and discuss the future of design and make. So I went to Surrey Timbers and picked up a load of wood, so let's have a quick look what I've got. I've got this, which is a piece of cherry, which I'm going to make a bowl from. This was a thick piece, as you can see, so I think it's about 45mm thick. I can just check that for you. Yeah, 46mm thick. So that's going to be turned into a nice bowl. As you can see, it's slightly rectangular, so we'll need to sort that out. I bought a Zebrano bowl blank, which I really think is really nice. Can't wait to turn that. Got an ash turning blank as well. Again, looking really forward to turning this. Some spindles. I've got a ash spindle. I really like ash, as you can see. Wild mango spindle. This is a very small one, but I thought it could be fun making something with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I like the look of it. Then we've got this really nice piece of walnut, very thick as well. It's 43mm thick. So this is going to get turned into maybe a bowl. I think we're going to turn this into a bowl and yeah, a bowl probably. So I'm hoping it's not too dark when I'm filming this. I'm filming it a bit later than usual. It's about 6:30, something like that. I've got this really nice piece of cherry. Don't know what I'm going to do with it, but just fancied having a go with some. I'm not sure I'm going to put all this. Found this offcut of Zebrano, really old offcut of it. But thought this would be fun to have a go with. Maybe make a 7-layer bowl or something. Now this I'm really happy with. So as you can see, it's not particularly nice on this side, but this is a really cool piece of purple art. And I actually picked it out because I really like the transition you can see. So from basically like discoloured and old to fresh and new. So I'm going to turn some sort of bowl using that. That's going to be really cool to have a go with. I think this is sapele, just a 10mm thick piece of sapele thin. I'm going to make a box out of this, I think. Just a nice thin box for putting stuff in. And then another sapele thin, again 10mm thick. So as I'm sure you can imagine, these two are going to go together to make a box. Can't wait to do that. Really looking forward to it. Don't know where I'm going to do. I'll put these on the chair. Okay. Then another really nice find, piece of African rosewood. Definitely looking forward to having a go with that. Another bit of cherry. As you can see, I like cherry. I chose this. One thing I'd like to do is pick up bits that have got a few defects and stuff, because I know they're not going to cost quite as much, but I can still get perfectly usable bits of wood out of them, because I don't work with ginormous pieces of wood. This is a really big bit of sapele. Very heavy, actually. It's 43mm thick. Really nice bit of sapele. Bit of oak. Again, let's have a look at the thickness of this. 30mm thick. No, that was 35mm thick. This is probably, I'm afraid to say, going to get used for making faceplate sections, which is a bit of a shame, but I have to do it some way, and quite frankly, I don't want to waste loads of wood, so I have to use some. Although I could use this bit. I think I chose this bit to make the faceplate sections out of, as this has got a lot of cracks on it. This is 30mm thick, so this will be fine. So yeah, this is going to get turned into faceplate sections. There's a hairline crack running along here, as you can see, but I can get probably 6 turning faceplate sections out of that. Picked up this really rough bit of Zebrano. Thought this was really cool. I don't know why. I just like the pattern. And I know this side's got a bit of roughness to it, but this could easily be turned into a bowl just by gluing the flat sections together, the firm flat bits together, and then this can be sorted out with the parting tool. Almost there. Piece of poplar. Really like poplar. Again, this has got a couple of defects. So obvious defect there and a few there, but the grain on this is lovely. I don't know if you can see, really nice grain on that. That's going to be turned into a little bowl that I stain with coffee. Can't remember what this is. I think this is hard maple, maybe ash. Again, really like the pattern on this. Some people wouldn't like this because it's got this big it's almost like a knot, I don't know what you call it, but I really like this here. Really like that. Don't know what I'm going to make with it yet, but I really liked it. I've shown you that piece of walnut. Then, coming on to 2 of my favourites, we've got this piece of curly maple. Got a big split here, but it's perfectly usable to get a thin bowl section out of, to glue it up with some other pieces to make like a 7-layer bowl or something like that, which is what I'm planning to do. Last but not least, my favourite. Piece of American walnut. Lovely bit of, what you call it, like live edge here. This is, believe it or not, has not been drilled with a hole, but it's actually almost perfectly circular. I don't know whether you can see, but you can see the bark in it. This is just the coolest thing. I love the grain pattern on this. This is going to get turned into a really high-end chopping board. Cannot wait to do this. This is going to be a project coming out in about a week or two's time. Actually, probably more like a month's time, because I've got a lot to do. And last but not least, I saw this sitting outside Surrey Timbers and was really interested in it. So I asked them, and they said I could have it, and it's very, very rough. Very rough, but I think it could be sapele, or at least that's what they think anyway. It's hard to work out, but you can see the colour there. This is going to get turned into spindles, so it's going to be a lot of prep work. I'm going to have, because obviously you can see it's got an insert here, so I'm going to have to cut it down, check there's no nail holes, then cut the sides off, make it square, and turn something with it. So that's the plan with that. And that's all of the wood neatly put away. Hopefully it won't be too difficult to get out. I mean, I have piled it up quite high, but as you can see, it's got a lot of strength and it shouldn't fall down. I thought this might be quite useful just to discuss. This is a crate, obviously, but I use it to store my turning blanks. So as you can see, I've got all my blanks in it. Here's the sapele one, pallet wood, wild mango, plywood, walnut and maple. So I just find this really useful because it slides onto the shelf and I can store it all in there. So basically what I'll do is, for example, let's take this one, which didn't quite work because the lathe was having a few difficulties. I'm going to finish this soon, but that's not going to fit because it'll be too tall. I have to have it below the level of this green thing. But if I'm making loads of small things, because my favourite bowls to turn like small ones like this, so I find this crate especially useful for storing things like that. So I'm going to make a couple of 7-layer bowls, so they'll have sapele, walnut, oak, maple, maybe padauk. Just thinking what other woods I've got. Soprano, cherry. Lots and lots of wood. Oh, maybe a bit of Iroko. So I'm going to do loads of wooden layered bowls, and then I can store them all in here. So let's discuss some other things that's happening in the workshop this week. So I've had another week of not really doing much in the workshop. The good thing is I've got about 3 weeks worth of uploads that I can just keep uploading. So I think I've got about 3 or 4 more bowls to upload. I think I've got maybe 1 other project. So I think I've got about 5 projects to upload. So I've got a constant schedule at the moment, and I shouldn't run out of videos for the next week anyway. Because I've been so busy this week, it's given me a chance to have a think outside of the workshop what I want to actually do with the workshop. So, oh, you can't see. Let me tilt the camera down a bit for you. So this workbench that's currently got the lathe on it, you might be thinking, why have I put the lathe on this workbench when it's at an unusable height? Well, I'm going to be building a lathe bench. I'm fed up of running out of space in here, and I've decided I want to build a lathe bench. I think it's going to be tight squeezed to fit it because I've got the shelf and the ladders, so I'm going to have to be very careful with space, but I think we'll just about fit it because I just need to get it up to this height and it's down here. So yeah, it could be a bit tight, but even if the lathe won't fit in it, I can keep the lathe on this workbench for the meantime. Sander can go on here. I think I might get a scroll saw because I'm bored with not doing more exciting things, and I fancy a scroll saw, and I've got some money ready to save for some new tools. So I was just going to get them when I eventually get my new workshop, but I think I'm going to get them now. So a bench grinder, scroll saw and that sander would all fit very nicely on this workbench. Actually, I've decided that's what I am going to do. So bench grinder, sander and scroll saw, maybe the scroll saw, I'm not sure if I'm going to get that yet, will sit on this workbench with the lathe on this workbench. So there's going to be a lot of reorganising in this workshop. And then I've got this MDF workbench, which is literally a piece of MDF across 2 massive thick pieces of pine and a spacer just to keep it from literally caving in at the middle. It's not flat, so that's why there's this piece of metal, if I can get it out, that keeps the sander level. So it's not particularly level, but it works. and quite frankly it gives me an extra sort of metre squared worth of space, so I'm happy enough with it. But I'm going to build another workbench. I was tempted to go down the OSB route, but I think for having something that needs to be a bit more heavy duty, I think I'm going to go with plywood, and it's not too expensive either. So yeah, plywood, and it's going to have 3 layers to it. So it's going to have a top layer, which is going to be plywood, which will have, as I said, bench grinder, scroll saw, if I get a scroll saw, and the sander. For now, I think I'll only have the bench grinder and the bench sander on here. Bench sander, that's a mouthful to say. Bench sander, bench grinder on here. And then I'll have one shelf for storing all of my wood turner blend items, which are in this hidden little thing. That's only to keep the dust out of it, because obviously don't want dust getting into all of my products. So that works really well. It's literally a rubble sack stapled on with some brackets to stop it flying out. Works quite well, but if I can build a new one, I can actually incorporate some storage units, such as this, into it, to keep everything dust free. So this will have 2 layers. It will be on casters eventually, but for the meantime, it will be just on the floor. So yeah, it's going to have a shelf for wood turners blend, and then a lower shelf which will store, maybe I might make it for wood turning blanks, because I'm running out of room for wood turning blanks, and I said I've got these crates, but if I can have both of these crates under here, and maybe get a couple more of these crates, it would be really useful to have them all under there. Obviously I've got the Hoover, so actually I think I'll only add 1 shelf and have 1 thin shelf, which would just be tall enough to fit one of those. That's what I'm going to do. So yeah, 1 which will be thick enough to fit these in, and then 1 which will be thick enough to either have turning blanks in it or some other tools and bits and bobs, so maybe things like consumables, and I don't know what else I might put in there. I can work that out later. But yeah, it's going to have 2 shelves rather than 3 actually. So 1 will be about where it is now, and 1 a bit lower down. And it's going to be made from CLS timber, because that's what I make all my workbenches out of. It's cheap, it's easy to use, and if you get the straight ones, it works really well, and it's a strong material. It is only pine, but then again, it's strong enough. And it looks nice as well, compared to some of the other options. Plywood top, as I said, and I was going to do a bit of MDF as a top, but then I thought I'd hate working with MDF. It's horribly dusty. Why would I waste my time working with a material that I don't like working with? Okay, it's going to cost me a bit more to make it out of plywood, but not that much. And also, I could add a backing plate to it to keep it all nice and nicely enclosed, but given eventually I'll be getting a new workshop, I'm not going to put an enclosure around it yet, because I can always do that in a new workshop. So this workbench will be coming with me. This one won't, because I'm going to be rebuilding this. But I'll keep hold of these materials, obviously. I keep hold of everything. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really nice workbench. I'm going to make it into a video, because I know a few of you have asked if I'll show how to build a workbench. Shouldn't be it'll probably be like 10-12 minutes video, something like that. I'll make it a bit longer than usual, because again, lots of people ask for longer style videos, which I'm trying to do. It's just, obviously they're difficult because they take up a lot more storage space, and yeah. But I hope you've enjoyed this workshop vlog. It's probably going to be about 15 minutes long, but hope you've enjoyed it and maybe learned a couple of things. I don't really know if you have learned anything necessarily, but if you've had a good time, that's great. So yeah, I look forward to joining you making a workbench, doing some more turning with all of these new turning blanks, and cannot wait to make that walnut chopping board. That I'm really looking forward to, as well as getting that sapele made into some spindle blanks, because that could be a really good project as well. And I know I can get hold of a lot more of those as well. So yeah, stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. And if you wouldn't mind, I would love it if you would subscribe, because that helps me out and helps me keep creating videos. Thanks for watching.